Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Paretsky, and I'm the chair of the Design Review Committee. This is our meeting of September 8th, 2022. This open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law on July 16th, 2022. All members of the Design Review Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the Design Review Committee to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberation. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation. This meeting will not feature public comment. I'd like to confirm that board members can be heard. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dave Varon?
Here.
Dario DeMar?
Here.
Lisa Maselli?
Here.
And I'm here. And staff, Lori Connors?
Here.
And that's it. The meeting business ground rules. The chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly to help generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by a roll call vote. And it is now 8:46. The first item on the agenda is 56 Hudson Street. And I see Tom Reardon in the audience, so you'll be speaking to that today, Tom?
Correct.
Okay, I'll open the floor to you.
Thank you, Amy. This project, 56 Hudson Street, was approved in 2020 by the ZBA and the Design Review Committee. And at the time, we had presented the Hudson Street elevation with array of colors. And to remind you, the building is a factory building, and the exterior will be made up of insulated metal panels. And in July, we learned that one of the manufacturers that was providing the panels had to make a change due to the disruption in their supply chain and their processes. So the company is called MBCI, and they found that the panels they were making in 26 gauge metal was not performing well in the field, and they needed to change the 22 gauge, which was thicker, and also required changeover in colors. So the panels and the colors that were approved in 2020 required a change. So August 4th, I sent Lori Connors, the town planner, an outline of these changes, which I believe she shared with you. So initially there was 3 colors. There was a horizontal band of dark gray across the base of the Hudson Street elevation, and the upper body was a lighter gray. And the windows and doors were to be a blue to try to match the corporate colors of Maytech Corporation. When they changed the material manufacturing process, the upper light gray panel, the texture and the color required a change. And also they couldn't match the blue. So what we're proposing in this memo is that we keep the base color the same and change the windows from blue to the dark gray, and go with a similar upper gray color. And I believe I've provided you with documentation of these colors, and the samples are at the planning board offices. So that's
Okay,
why we're
thanks.
before you.
Would anybody on the board like me to share the colors?
I'd like to see the layout again. And if you can share the colors with it, can we do that?
Okay. I have the colors. I don't know if I have the layout. You mean the building?
Elevation.
Yeah, the elevation. I saw it at the office.
I don't think I have it. Laura,
do
do you
you-
have the,
I do have the actual color combo, so I can hold it up for you. These are the proposed colors, it's my understanding. And these are taped in an odd way, so let me untape them because they are front to back.
Tom, do you have a copy of that you could pull up of the elevation?
We see.
And these, Tom, this was originally part of the approved color scheme, correct? This
Correct.
one right here. So these were the original colors that were approved by design review. So this color is consistent. This is not changing. Instead of doing these two colors, the proposal is to do this color.
and is the big chip the building and the small chip the trim?
Well, it's not the trim, it's the, there's like a wainscoting across the base.
So this would be the color of the windows as well as the base panels. This is the color of the upper panels.
So the first floor would be gray, the dark.
If you bear with me, I can probably find those elevation plans. Amy, do you happen to have them handy?
No, were they,
No.
are they
Tom, do you have
online?
them handy? I can make you co-host.
I can give you the color sheet. I'm trying to find the elevation I sent you where I colored in the base plan.
I have it by, I have it right here, but it doesn't, probably won't show up very well.
I don't think I have it electronically. Unless it's online somewhere.
I could search for it, so, Tom, you might be able to pull it up faster than I
Well,
will.
I don't know if you can see this. That's the elevation. The dark gray is across the base. The upper part is a light gray and the windows are the dark gray. So that was the drawings I sent to the planning department. I do have I did scan the colors approved and proposed if you want to allow me to get into my computer.
Yes, you should be able to share your screen. I gave you that permission.
So how do I get to this? It's on my screen. How do I share? Share here.
Down at the bottom, there's a
Yeah.
green button that says share screen.
And I'm on a Mac, so I have funny choices here. Let's see.
If you email it to Lori or I, we could share it.
I probably have it, so let me just do a search.
So the building height is the same as it is now?
There's no changes to the structure or the design. It's just, we're just talking about colors.
Tom, I have the colors, but I don't think you emailed to me that, that elevation, the colored one that you just showed. I'm gonna try and find it in the street file here. But it's not gonna be the colored version.
By colored, you mean it's just shaded? There's no color really to the elevation. It's just shaded, right?
Yeah, he just used a gray magic marker.
That's fine.
Let's see. Unfortunately, it's not saved here either. So I can either hold up that paper again and you can look at it that way. Or that's the best I can do. There it is.
All right, and looking at that, and I noticed it in the office when I went in, what color is the roof? Is it the dark gray, is it light gray, red?
You won't see the roof because the pitch is like 1 in 12. That elevation shows really the roof of the building behind it. And the roof material is a white EPDM membrane. So you won't see it from the front elevation or the side.
So they're all of them are just consistently white. Is that correct?
Well, they're flat roofs, so you don't really see the color of the roof.
All right, you guys see it now?
We
Took a lot of
do.
teamwork, but we got there eventually. Michelle had it.
Michelle, that looks great now.
So the dark gray will be this this on the bottom here. And
Yeah,
then the light gray is the large panels on the side.
Correct.
What is the strip on the top?
That's the
Is
roof.
that just like gray still?
This is the
Well,
roof, I understand, right, Tom?
you won't really see that. There's an assembly metal building behind this that is taller, so that's also has a white roof, so you won't see any of that.
So this is exactly what we would see except the roof because it's so far back.
Correct.
Does that mean you're moving all those utilities? Because there was a ton of garbage on the front of that. Are the electric and gas and all that stuff moving?
That's what's taken us the last years to get the gas company and the electric company. We have to, all the services are going through the portion of the building that is being demolished. So that's what they're just finishing up now.
Okay, so they won't be on the front elevation.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the section that's just below the sign, is that the bump out where the stairs go in?
Correct.
So that pumps out and just it stays along that whole line as a dado. Okay.
I wasn't on the board, but I remember you saying it's pulling off the river a little more. Will
Right.
that will the panel that's blocking the river come down? Will you be able to see the river now?
Yes. They're gonna put a guardrail.
Okay. Can it be is it a guardrail on the road or along the building?
This is Cold Harbor Brook that passes by the building, and there is a bridge over Cold Harbor, so the guardrail will be right there. There really isn't anywhere else to place the guardrail.
And it's on the roadside, on the outside of the sidewalk near the road? When you talk guardrail? All right. I just didn't know if will there be like a little type of fencing bridge between the sidewalk and the river as you walk past it?
There'll just be the sidewalk and the guardrail, and then it drops down to the Cold Harbor. There's no space.
What's the guardrail look like? Does it look like the stairs that you have here, or is it just like a metal strip across?
We don't know we have to go through the DPW to coordinate what we can place there, because now the metal panel is in the way.
Okay. We're just thinking we're doing the downtown revitalization, and the rivers are something that's discussed. So when people walk along, it would be nice to see like something that attracts you to it, that looks nice versus.
Have you looked on this side of the street down into what you would see? It's a concrete channel, and then there's a planking that goes over the top of the brook. So it's an industrial view of a brook passing between two buildings. So
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know what's on the other side of the metal panel.
yeah, you'll see how poorly the bridge is designed and constructed. That's about it.
Okay. Does
Yeah,
anyone?
Yeah,
sorry.
I think we're just hearing it's a nice looking panel facing the other side, which is fine, because I walked back there and yes, it looks like junk now, but if that concrete covering over Colebrook is, treated right on a nice surface, and you've got the nice brick industrial building, it could look like a fantastic mill town with the water passing through it. There's a lot of beautiful canals in New England, and that could services that. And if you do stand on that piece of concrete and look under the bridge, you actually see the waterfalls on the other side, which is kind of elegant. But right now, to Tom's point, it looks like junk, but in the future, it could be one of the coolest things in town.
Who's gonna address that? Is it part of the MPIC? Is it the town, or is it the company?
But at this point, I think if that site looks nice, what we're doing is just approving the colors, which I think the colors are fine. And if that's opened up, that's even better. And if the utilities are gone, then that's great too, on the front facade. So I don't know I think master plan or whatever will deal with that, but I don't think this is the venue for that.
All right, well, we don't have any other choices on colors, so I think we could probably just go ahead with it, don't you? Not like we have two to pick from.
Yeah,
Right.
they're fine with me.
Yep. Sounds good. Anybody else have anything to add?
I'm good with it.
Okay, Lori, you're all set too?
Yeah, I have no issues.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Good luck.
So are you folks gonna vote to recommend in favor of this color choice?
We usually vote for that, do we?
Sure, we could vote. I wasn't on when we did it before. I don't think I've ever been on when we make a decision, but we could make a motion to vote on the color change if there are no objections. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we vote on the color change and no utilities on the front. That's it.
We have a first and a second. Any more comments? No, I know there weren't. So, okay, roll call vote. Dario DeMar,
Aye.
Lisa Maselli, Dave Varon. And I'm an aye. Okay, it's been approved.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the second agenda. I just wanted to let you know too, I know I had mentioned I had to leave at 9:15. I can stay till 9:30, but I definitely have to cut out at 9:30.
Sounds good.
And okay, so we'll move on to the two family guidelines. I can pull them up if you want. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review them. It's gonna take me a second to find them. I didn't have any questions. I thought they looked good. Just trying to pull it up. Sorry. I'm gonna have to open it from the email this morning. I thought I already downloaded them. Okay, two family guidelines. Oh, here's a share screen. Didn't everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if I have to go through them page by page, but if you want to, I will. Assuming the words are how we had changed them. But if people want to check out the pictures, I think that was the only thing that was added. Do you agree, Lori?
Yes, yep, that's pretty much all I did was just add the photos that I thought articulated the various design standards.
Thank you for doing that. Would the committee like me to go through the different pictures one by one? I think there's 4 or 5 of them.
Can you just back up to the beginning? I just have a question. Under the last dot before the pictures, there were some bullets. There you go. Yeah, it says use building elements such as, oh wait, where am I at? Encourage street, oh wait, I think it must be on the next page. There we go. Just the last one, provide guidance about the town's design preferences for two-family construction. I think that's all you need because developers, architects, someone's gonna say something different. We probably can leave out developers, home builders, architects, property owners, realtors, and others. Just provide guidance about the town's design preferences for the two-family construction so that someone doesn't say you didn't put me in that list, so I don't apply.
Right?
That's all. It's just a simple omission, but then that's the intent rather than trying to name every possible species trying to apply. That's the intent, just to provide guidance. Does that make sense to everybody?
I like
Yep.
it.
Makes sense.
Happy to make that change.
And then I did have a request on one of the pictures.
Okay, so this one shows the entrance from the front and the side. The next, do you want me to go through them all, Lisa, or do you want me to go to yours?
I like, the other ones are all fine with me. I just had the one on page 4,
Okay.
especially the one on page 5. That's like, we have a few of those. Right, so this one, for me, it just feels, there's a couple of questions that I would not like to see this. To begin with, it's 3 stories. Handicapped accessibility doesn't even look possible here. For seniors and those people who might, try to live in a condo that's handicapped, there's no way they could even look at this. It also looks large for me, and we talk about overshadowing the other properties. So if you have to go up because you don't have enough width, then you're starting to create an even greater building. And I just think that a developer looking at this could say, all right, we can do that. And instead of reading everything or whatever, would take this as an acceptable offering and, push back on if we said, well, what about the handicapped and the senior accessibility and the size? So I'd just rather see it just gone and, just fill it in with the words and go from a 9-page to an 8-pager.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is tall, and the dormer on the top, just so you know, you put windows on the side, it's a 4th floor. It's tall enough. It looks like it's 12, 14 feet tall, so you could get a lot of space. And I think it is too tall. So
Okay, I can delete that.
yeah, and the other thing is it'll be covered in our bylaws with the height restrictions anyway, because we have a 35-foot height restriction, so they couldn't do this even if they tried, because they have to comply with the fundamental setbacks and height restrictions. But it's not an example, I guess, because someone will say, oh, I did build exactly what you drew, and now you're telling me it's too tall, and then we'd have to say yes.
Yeah, so it's easy.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's a good catch.
The other ones are good. And as I say, I mean, the one on page 5 is magnificent. I love it.
This one.
Yeah, it's craftsman style. That's my favorite style.
I mean, it just,
And I have one other, you guys can do what you want with it. It's probably more my OCD. We toggle back and forth in this thing between duplex and 2-family dwelling. Do we want to just use one word throughout, or do we mind going back and forth?
I like using one word throughout, personally.
I do
There
too.
could be a global search and pick whichever one, but we talk about duplexes, and then for the first couple of pages, then it jumps to 2-family dwellings. No big deal, but it's just one of those things. If someone's going to say, what's the difference? Obviously, there is no difference as far as we're concerned by definition, but at least if we're consistent, it could be less confusing to a reader.
You do like in the first paragraph of the opening, 2-family dwellings, duplex, and then just by definition, say we will call it a 2-family dwelling or duplex from here on, and then just run it with that word.
Yeah.
Paper, do it like that.
Right, because we define them being the same, but it would be nice just to be consistent throughout and call it duplexes, because then if we ever want to change something, it's consistent throughout. That's just probably not real important, but I think it's an easy thing to do the global change, and it doesn't matter to me which one you pick. Whether it's
My suggestion would be to stick with the 2-family dwelling,
Yep.
because
Okay.
that is what is in the zoning bylaw.
perfect.
So
That-
we want to be consistent with the zoning bylaw.
Yep, that's
Yep.
perfect.
That's what we talked about before, because I would have preferred to see duplexes for the whole thing, because 2 families are one above the other, but because it was in the guidelines, I mean,
Yeah.
in the bylaw, that's why we kept it. But
Okay, that's good then, and we'll go with 2-family dwelling throughout. And I think you'll see in the very first page, basic design guidelines starts off with duplexes should fit the character. So we'll just change that all to 2-family dwelling.
and how come the first sentence is these design guidelines for 2-family dwellings? The 2-family dwellings is in parens. Is that not supposed to be duplexes?
I think that came with what Judy had done before, probably,
But it's redundant, so
and then we could take it out.
that out, you could put duplex next to it if you wanted to mirror the top design guides. To say it should be the same as the top.
That's a good idea.
All right,
So instead of 2-family dwellings, 2-family guidelines, it will say 2-family dwellings, and then in parentheses, duplexes.
Right. And I don't think you need to put the parenthesis and the quotes. Take the quotes out.
Okay.
I think the point is that the suggestion was to use shorthand. So it's just explaining that two-family guidelines means the same as design guidelines for two-family dwellings. So it's just less words. And so that's what they're defining. Otherwise, I just have to write design guidelines for two-family dwellings every time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Or hereinafter known as is what the parentheses are saying, right? Hereinafter known as two-family guidelines.
Yes.
Two-family guidelines.
My other suggestion after we're done, and I'm sure they won't have any changes, but I think we should send it to the planning board just for review because they're the special permit granting authority. And in case we miss something, or I'm sure we didn't, and they probably won't have any changes, but I was thinking after we approve them, we send it to them just to read them and get back to us, and then they're official.
I agree.
That way we're all on the same page.
That sounds good.
Okay, so does everybody agree that we'll just approve these as is for now? We'll send it out to the planning board, and if any of you actually find like a word or two or something you want to change between now and then, I'm sure it isn't a big deal if you find something.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do we need to take a vote? Or do you
Oh,
want to wait till we get it back from the planning board and then we'll vote officially? Does everybody
I just want to check one.
We'll just approve these as is for now. We'll send it out to the planning board, and if I hear myself again. That must be Lori's with the video over there.
Somehow I got unmuted, so sorry about that.
I do have a question. I suppose now that I'm looking at it, we don't discuss lighting at all in this. We've got landscaping, but we don't discuss lighting. Or did we? And it didn't. Should we? Because we talked about that with that last duplex that went in on Hudson Street. Shouldn't that also be something that would be important? Because lots of times they're not putting much in the way of lighting on, like a pole, like a lamp post or whatever coming into the property, lighting on the building, because we talked about that with the neighbors at on Hudson Street, how the garages were going to be setting out toward the neighbors on both sides, and those garage lights would be going into their areas if the buildings are so close to the properties now.
We do have a design requirement having to do with lighting and site plan review. And the site plan review design guidelines say that there can't be spillover of light that creates a nuisance for the abutters.
Does that go, because like before with site plan review of landscaping and lighting with duplexes, we really had no say with it, so how does that work with this? Because like before my hands were always tied, we really couldn't do much.
Why was that? When was that in effect?
Ever since I can remember.
Is it part of design review that we couldn't talk about lighting?
It's always been like, like we couldn't do like with commercial. Commercial, we could always say, hey, we want this, we want that. But with landscape and lighting, when it came to like more of a residential thing, because we never had this in place, we couldn't really talk too much in regards to landscape lighting or lighting, lighting and also landscape. It was never set in stone. That's what was the whole purpose of this. So
Yeah, David, I think that was for single family. So I think if it's duplexes or apartment complex, there's probably, we would have more say on that. And I think the only thing, to Lisa's point, there's a lot of people that put the big floodlights on the garage that do stay on all night. and they're shining out towards the road. So you got this big bright thing that you're looking at, as opposed to shining lights at the house. Then it's not as, insulting, or you don't have the big bright spot when you're walking down the street. But I don't know if we can put a paragraph that says, decorative lanterns, house lighting, but no bright lights visible to the street. It's a big deal now with all these motion detectors, and sometimes they just leave them on.
Yeah.
And they're big floods pointing out.
No, and I agree with exactly what you're saying, what Lisa's saying. I'm saying in the past, we never had anything. That was the whole reason for this.
Right.
Is when it came to, this type of, this type of property, we had no guidelines on where to go. So we really didn't have much say of anything.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason for this. When it came to, commercial, larger property, yes, we had say, but here we had none. So if we wanted to do lighting, we could do something here, but I don't know how much say, how far can we go? Because it's not like a commercial building where, it's village over, but I think we should, possibly do something. But again, how can we, if someone wants to put up a ring camera, do you have the ability to say no?
No, I don't think that's anything. That's not I think what happens is that if you're putting in landscaping and you're creating design guidelines to be able to use guidelines, this is the time to do it, to put lighting in. And I know just on my street, I have 2 houses across the way from me that the lights are on all the time through the night, straight, and I see it. So because buildings are getting closer and closer to the lot lines, and I think we should put in a small paragraph or 2 about what we recommend, because again, these are recommendations. So I think that's better bringing it forward than having a little discussion after the fact. So it's
No,
there.
and I agree with you. And I agree with Dario's point too, as far as, just putting a floodlight out there, we should definitely say, hey, something, I don't know if we want to go as far as, hey, if you have a number on this, the house, do we want to illuminate the number easier for the fire department too? I know even myself, when I'm going to find clients' numbers, especially when it's starting to get darker in the evening, I'm trying to find people's house numbers, and it gets interesting.
Right, that's true.
I know typically from my experience, when developers come in with duplex projects, they often don't know who the end user is going to be. So, they are building these with the intent to sell. So in my experience, you're lucky if you are able to get the look of the house next to the doors. And they don't install floodlights until later on in the process. So and certainly the landscaping lights, if they decide to do that, they do that, after the homeowners move in. So it's not something that people are really thinking about during the permitting process. So I'm thinking that that's all we're going to get, is we're going to get the lights that are maybe an area light. So typically, people put up an area light that's lights up kind of the front of the house, the driveway location, and where the mailbox is going to be. And then you get the lights next to the door, and that's about it. And usually they give you a spec from like Lowe's. This is the light we're going to use. They just go online and they say, hey, they just pick whatever, not necessarily install that.
Now, should there be a sentence like lighting, consider dark skies compliant? Because that's the shielded lighting that points down, right? I don't know if that's going too far. I know Southborough does it, but I don't know if it's too far for Northborough. Like the dark skies, isn't that what avoids the spillover?
Yep.
Frequently, that's something that would be required for parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
So, large scale residential multifamily developments, but it's usually not an issue for like a duplex, in my experience.
Well, I don't think it's going to hurt if we put in a paragraph on something with lighting. We just have to decide what we want to put in. I think it's an important element now. We're not talking necessarily about tree landscape lighting, but on the house and a pole light coming to the door, because I know that the other, like I said, Hudson Street's last duplex, it was, no, we weren't going to put any lighting coming up to the door, and we were going to use the light on the side of the garage to light the walk, and that was it. So I think that it's safety, and I think that it's helps to create an environment that we're all looking forward to. So we don't have to tell them what kind of lights to use, and we don't have to tell them, you know, I mean, we have to get that specific, but we have something here on landscaping. I think we should do something on lighting as well.
You're muted, Dave.
Yeah, gotta figure out that, whatever.
That's okay.
What about, if we say something of, hey, we would like to see the front door illuminated and some safety light going from, whether it be either the driveway or the main road, depending whichever makes more sense, to the front door, following the walkway to the door, whether it be a post light or landscape lighting. That way you're not stuck to, you know, hey, an ugly post light. If they happen to decide to do, you know, landscape lighting, they can do that. So that's an option. And that way you give options there. And then we can also say for the lighting for the door, we prefer a down light over the ugly light attached to the side of the house. It just floods everywhere. And, you know, say something like that is our preference, and let them go from there.
Yeah, I think that's fine, David. I think the whole point would be if we put a paragraph just to give us a little bit of teeth with regard to critiquing it, just to say lighting should be sensitive, you know, should support safe access to the house, consider dark sky design, you know, just, it doesn't have to be like technical, but just put something in there that we don't want it to look like a discotheque from the outside in a nice way. Because then you're saying consider the lighting. Because a lot of the houses, they got lights on the ceiling of the porches, which is great because you get a soft glow of the house, and those are pointing down, you know. But I think the you know, the big floods on the side of the house, I'm seeing them more and more often. I think they're security, but people leave them on. But it's really bright. There's a big bright, you know, one of the neighbors has one on his back porch that literally casts a shadow on my driveway at night. You know, I'm walking at night. What's the shadow? Oh, it's from the guy's porch light. He's got floods that hit the porch, but they go beyond the backyard, and all of a sudden it's bright where it shouldn't be bright.
No, absolutely. I call it.
Yeah. So if Lisa, you want to take a shot at that, just something. I think just saying be sensitive to light. Just consider the effect of lighting on the neighbors, and do it in a subtle, safe way. You know, it doesn't have to have any teeth, but it's just pointing out to be sensitive about it. And I think that's probably all we can hope for, because I don't want to get into lumens and watts per lumens and
Right.
color of light. You know, everything's got to be warm or 5,000 Kelvin and all that crap.
Right. All right. I'll put something together and then I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I think we add that into here. I think we give it to site plan review, let them review this whole thing, let them shoot it back to us, and then we just vote on it. That sounds
Yeah.
good?
Sure, that sounds good. I think we meet again around the 16th. I don't know if Lisa, if you can write it and send it off to Lori, and Lori can share it. I don't know if we can make changes though, without breaking open meeting laws.
Yeah, you'll have to discuss it at a meeting. You can't go back and forth on it. So any sort of like vote will have to wait to the next meeting when you're physically together.
I think if we do that, just throw it in. I mean, even if we tweak it a little bit, even after everybody, when's the next planning board meeting?
We meet twice a month.
No, not us. Oh, you guys, yeah, that's right, sorry. Yeah.
We meet like on the 16th this month, but then we'll meet again the first week of October.
Okay.
So we'll meet twice before we meet again as a design review.
So that way you guys have plenty of time to review it, take a look at it, go through it. Even if we have to change the lighting a little bit, it wouldn't matter. I mean.
Okay,
it's
hey,
general-
I gotta get rolling in like a minute. Sorry.
Okay.
I think our next meeting of design review is the 15th of September. And then the next meeting of the planning board is the 20th.
Okay. How
Of
about
October?
the planning board and then have it put in the planning board? The light-
October, we meet on October 4th. That's the planning board meeting.
Yep.
And October 18th, and the design review committee meeting is October 20th.
So we don't meet again till the 20th.
Oh, yeah, so we're not having another meeting in September. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You could bring it up, Amy, you could bring it up at the planning board meeting and put it in.
Yeah,
Yep. Well, if you wanna, maybe Lori, you heard what Dario was saying. Maybe Lori and Lisa work together on something small and we'll add it and the planning board can read it all and then shoot it back to us.
Sounds good.
cool.
I have to run too, so if you guys don't mind, can we do the minutes at the next meeting? Unless nobody had any changes. I didn't have any more changes. Was everybody okay with the minutes?
Good to me.
Or do you want to read them? Nope. So do I have a motion that we disapprove the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Dave Varon,
Aye.
Dario Demar,
Aye.
Lisa Maselli.
And I wasn't there.
Oh, okay, and I'm an aye, so the meeting minutes are approved. And then we'll put off the check sheet for next month. If anyone doesn't have any else to add, we could have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Dave Varon,
Second, aye.
aye, Lisa
I
and Dario Demar.
Aye.
Okay, I'll see you guys next month, but I assume we're gonna send these to the planning board just to review for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.